Okay, so the second for new marker. This is part E, and let's first of all analyze the question. Evaluate the likely economic effects of a guaranteed price stream, minimum price stream, of a guaranteed minimum price stream. Keyword such as that introduced by the Ivory Coast of cocoa, illustrated or answer with the supply and demand diagram. Okay, so there are three aspects to the discussion, three key terms. Evaluate first of all. Evaluate what the likely economic effects. Now, economic effects can be a rather vague term, but economic effects essentially means anything and everything you'll learn in economics. Literally, anything and everything you'll learn. This could include from unemployment, inflation, balance of payments, and GDP. Obviously, anything and everything in between. Okay, but obviously this is guaranteed minimum pricing for cocoa, so you don't have to go as far as GDP and everything. Sorry, balance of payments, because obviously you're gonna have to focus on farmers in particular and the cocoa producers, and they don't give a rip about how a country is trading and what its trade surplus and trade deficit is. Okay, so you'll focus on unemployment, inflation, their profits, and everything. Like economic effects. And again, key term, evaluate. You have to evaluate this. This implies that you have to. This implies that you have to first of all mention the economic effects and then also mention a counter argument. The effect you have mentioned can also there could be a scenario where that effect may not occur. That's all you have to do. Mention a counter argument, and that is your evaluation. So evaluate. There is a keyword, economic effects. That's what you gotta evaluate. For what? Of a guaranteed price, minimum price stream. There's a key definition, and most importantly, you have to illustrate your answer with a supply and demand diagram. Whenever this is written, there are at least 4 marks reserved for the supply and demand diagram. 4 marks. Think about that. That's a big deal. Okay, 4 marks for supply and demand diagram. You have to mention your supply and demand diagram throughout your answer. You have to incorporate it, not just draw it out. Okay. So three key terms, rather one key definition, two key terms, and the one definition, key definition, that is what you got to start with. Guaranteed minimum price stream. Now you can define the guaranteed minimum price stream itself, the whole stream, or you could define just the minimum price, what minimum price means. What I did is I defined minimum price. That got me 1 mark right here at the start. That is one entire mark, 1K. And right after this, I mentioned, sorry, I drew out the diagram of supply and demand. This is a supply and demand diagram of a minimum price stream. It shows supply and demand, but it also shows the effect of a minimum price stream and how it would define the market and the quantity that will be supplied, and ultimately the price. So as you can notice, there are no supply and demand shifts. The supply and demand are constant; they are static. They aren't shifting. There's only the price that is being imposed on the market at a higher price than the equivalent price, and this leads to a surplus, as you can tell in here, surplus. This surplus and the fact that the diagram shows the new price, winning price, and supply and demand gets me 4 marks for the diagram marks. So 1K there, 4 diagram here. There's 5 marks by now. Okay, now I'm starting off with the main answer that I'm going to elaborate on the economic effects of this minimum price stream, and moreover, I'll also incorporate my supply and demand diagram as much as I can. The diagram shows this minimum price above the equilibrium price of PE. It does show there's some, but I'm just incorporating and explaining it. The stream can be effective. Okay, now I'm going to the effects, and I'm giving out my opinion. The stream can be effective. The stream can be effective as it may not allow the price of cocoa to go below certain level following rise in supply due to good harvest or some other reason. Okay, and it may not allow the price of cocoa to go below a certain level. Here, I'm essentially laying out the definition of minimum price scheme. What the scheme does. Okay, this is essentially a knowledge mark. I'm laying out what the scheme does. It doesn't allow, and I'm incorporating a little bit of application here as well due to a good harvest or some other reason. But I wouldn't call that. I mean, application a whole application mark just by itself. So that's 1K. They should provide this. Okay, now analyzing it, I'm going deeper into the. I mean, what the effect would be, the exact effect, and how it will come about. They should protect the incomes of farmers as they may be able to avoid fluctuating prices and may earn a stable income. Alright, so this should protect the incomes of farmers. Incomes of farmers, something that is pretty important. Income as they may, and now I'm defining as they may be able to avoid fluctuating prices and earn a stable income. So I'm not gonna give myself 2 marks. I mean, I mentioned the fact, protect the incomes, and then I mentioned how, because they will be able to earn stable incomes. But all in all, that is still just 1 mark. I wouldn't say that's 2 marks. So from here to here, that's another mark. Also, the unemployment of farmers may not rise because remember, lower cocoa prices and everything may put farmers out of jobs and everything. So I mentioned here. Also, the unemployment of farmers may not rise, and there should be steady investments. There should be steady investments. Let's move to the second page. There should be steady investments. Okay, that's another point. Let's move back there. This entire thing, 5 marks. The answer, the diagram shows the linear question. Okay, the stream can be fitted. Definition from here to here. This should protect the income of the farmer as farmers may not be able to avoid fluctuations. Okay, this also the employment of farmers may not rise and there should be steady investment. And the point. So these 3 points get me approximately, I say, could be 4 marks, could be 3 marks. I'm gonna lean more towards 3 marks because it does have, while it does have analysis, it is not too deep or anything. And I've already got the 4 marks for the subline diagram, so it'd be too excessive if I end up scoring 4 here. So all in all, this whole paragraph earns me 4 marks. Sorry, 3 marks. 3 KA marks. Not much application here other than the good harvest, but you can also do that. And also the fluctuating prices, because that is obviously applied to cocoa. Cocoa's prices fluctuate a lot, so that makes sense. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. There's not much application here. So 5 here, 3 here, that's 8 total marks. Let's move on to my evaluation. However, there might be an excess supply of cocoa between Q2 to Q1 shown in the diagram. Okay, again incorporating my diagram. This starts with however. Okay. However, that means my evaluation has begun, and that's what you gotta do. You gotta pick a couple of words that show a transitionary words. You can Google them, where the common ones are however, although, nevertheless, though, and I don't know, but obviously a couple more. Or if you drop one of the assumptions, that's a pretty good one, because economists uses a lot of assumptions. That's a whole entire phrase, and I wouldn't be using that myself much because you don't have much time on the paper. But if you want to use it, you can use it. Sure thing, it's pretty good. But you gotta mention as an assumption that you're dropping. If you do that, it's a pretty profound phrase, I say. Anyway, however, there might be an excess supply of cocoa between Q2 to Q1 shown in the diagram. And my diagram indeed shows this Q2 to Q1. this entire this thing is accessible. Now this is a negative effect. You see the effects of the effects of a minimum price scheme, and this is a negative effect. This is evaluating on a point between Q2 to Q1 shown in the diagram. That gets me one knowledge mark. But remember, a knowledge mark in evaluation is an evaluation mark. Let's move on. The she may extend the supply of cocoa to Q2. Okay, we've already seen that in the diagram. As farmers might be encouraged by the rising prices, and the demand for cocoa may contract to Q1. Again, shown in the diagram, but I'm incorporating it and I'm also analyzing it by mentioning this farmers might be encouraged by the rising prices. This shows economics because this is a basic law of supply and demand here, and this shows economic understanding, the rudimentary economics understanding. It shows that a candidate knows that a rise in price would encourage the farmers to supply more. There may be a surplus that will require further government. There may be a surplus that will require further government intervention in the form of buying cocoa stocks. This is deep analysis. You see, I didn't need to mention that. I just mentioned it that government would then be caught up in a loop. They will have to do it more and more. First of all, they impose some new pricing, then they have to buy stocks as well. I mentioned all this, and this is going into a deeper understanding. I didn't need to mention this, but I did anyway. So that is a deep analysis mark. I went out of the way and mentioned it. Anything that you analyze or make deeper links into, that is analysis, and the deeper the link, the better the analysis. So this entire evaluation parallel gets me 3 marks, 3 EV. Let's move on to my second point. Okay, I know my second one is starting with though. This is not evaluation, you see. This is not evaluation. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you exactly what's happening here. Though the point is starting with though. Look at the point. Though the supply of cocoa may only extend in this long run, as the growth of cocoa trees takes about 5 years, and the supply is most likely priced inelastic. Okay, I am essentially countering my own evaluation. I'm evaluating my evaluation. Alright, this is key. Believe me, evaluating your evaluation is extremely important. It shows that the candidate is able to provide an argument and evaluate it, and then evaluate that argument itself. This sort of evaluation is obviously your knowledge and application marks, KA marks. These are not your evaluation marks because you've already put an evaluation up there, but you are essentially evaluating your evaluation. So these are not your evaluation marks, but your KA marks. However, even though they are your KA marks, these KA marks are much more important or much more significant than your ordinary KA marks, because you are showing that you're capable of countering your own argument, of debating something that you said yourself, and looking at the other side of the other side essentially. So this would make a really good impression on the examiner, and I would extremely recommend you that you try it yourself. You cannot do it often. Occasionally you can, and whenever you can, you gotta pounce on the opportunity and do it. Though the supply of cocoa may only extend in the long run, as the prices of cocoa trees take about 5 years, and the supply is most likely price inelastic. That is not only an knowledge mark but also an application mark, because it takes 5 years. I show it here. Moreover, the demand may stay contracted at Q1 for only a short period of time until the cocoa producer adopt the new prices and start buying cocoa. I mentioned that the demand may stagnate, remain the same, but it could also rise. Therefore, there may not be surplus any after all. Okay, I did not mention this reasoning behind it, but the fact that I mentioned it always implies. However, I wouldn't earn an analysis mark here. just knowledge. Additionally, the demand may rise in the long run as the demand for cocoa is growing from India and China. Application. Boom. So additionally, demand for may rise in long run. In the long run, analysis even. This entire these this last point, 2 marks. Above point, 1 mark. Above point, 1 mark. Overall now 4 marks. Oh, of course. Now, if this was an ordinary 3K mark, or ordinary K paragraph, I'd give master 3 marks. But I'm evaluating my evaluation, so I'm gonna give master 4 marks here. Like I said, this is quite important, really important. The cocoa is growing from India and China. India and China, that is the application that is mentioned in the passage. Right here, I suppose. Let me see. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to make this up, but the demand from India and China is pretty much growing for all products. So, growing population, growing demand, it's natural. In the long term, as the emerging markets continue to grow, demand for there you go. Demand for cocoa from India and China is likely to increase. Consumers in countries are demanding strongly in the kingdom. There you go. So that gets me for evaluation marks. Sorry, 4K marks. Or you could say 3K marks, but either way, that's 3K here and 4 diagram and 3K back then and one knowledge. So all in all, I have scored 9 marks, 9K marks by now. 9? How come? Actually, no. 11. Yeah. So, furthermore, the guarantee press. Okay, furthermore, now this is not my evaluation. Furthermore, signals that I am providing additional information. Since this is K up there, this must be K too. Furthermore, the guaranteed minimum price scheme may harm chocolate producers, and the profits as a new prices may raise production costs. Okay, now I was asked to evaluate the economic effects of a guaranteed minimum price scheme. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the cocoa producers. There are also the chocolate producers who have to use their cocoa in their chocolates. And I now am going to explain the effects on those chocolate producers, not the chocolate farmers. Sorry, cocoa farmers. Furthermore, the guarantee price scheme may harm chocolate producers. It also harms chocolate farmers, sorry, cocoa farmers. In my evaluation, as I mentioned here, but it can benefit them. However, for the chocolate producers, it is mostly a bane rather a boon. Furthermore, the guaranteed minimum price scheme may harm chocolate producers and their profits as new prices may raise production costs. Straight up 2 marks. Straight up 1 mark. Sorry, yeah, straight up 1 mark. May harm chocolate producers and their profits as new prices may raise production costs. It is obviously negative for them. Due to this, the demand for labor in the chocolate manufacturers may fall and there might be a substantial unemployment. Economic effects. Remember, unemployment is a major economic effect. Whenever you consider the implications of a policy, you always consider the effect on unemployment, employment, and inflation. Obviously, all these things are important. And I appeal to this argument right here that the unemployment may rise. So 2 entire marks, 2 full marks, the whole passage. That's 2K marks. By now I have got 13K marks, or you can, well, if you're kind of stingy, you can say 12K marks. But then this is a mini essay question, and if you are going to get 18 total marks from this question, then 12 is the maximum you can score for KA, maybe even 10. But if it's a 40 marker, then 8 is the maximum you can score. So 12 is too excessive, and you don't have to go this deep. You can easily skip out this. I could have easily skipped out this entire paragraph. There will be no need to mention it. It is too excessive. Hell, I could have even skipped out the whole thing. 5 marks, I could have even earned 7 then, or 8 if you are if the exam is a little bit generous. However, okay, evaluation again. However, the chocolate producer, I am countering the points I made up there. This one, more specifically, this entire point. I'm going to evaluate this point here. This evaluation is focused on this. However, the chocolate producers, as you can tell, I'm delving on chocolate producers. However, the chocolate producers can instead purchase cocoa from Ghana and Nigeria, where cocoa prices might be much lower, and thus the production cost of the manufacturers may not increase, and the scheme might fail. There you go. Simple evaluation. I mentioned the production cost of cocoa producers, sorry, chocolate producers may rise because you see there are international chocolate producers. They aren't local. I'm not talking about local chocolate producers from the Ivory Coast. I'm talking about the international ones such as Cadbury, Kit Kat, and everything. And these chocolate producers do not have to rely solely on Ivory Coast cocoa. They can also go to Ghana and Nigeria and purchase cocoa from there. It's cheaper, so why not to do it? Obviously, there might be some extra logistics costs, but other than that, they can easily go for it. So I mentioned this that the production cost of the manufacturers may not increase at all, and the sheep might fail because obviously there will be excess supply, even more excess supply, considering the fact that no one's actually buying from them, and once no one's buying from them, they're just continue to supply, and stocks build up. So this entire paragraph, two valuation marks, nothing more than that though, because I didn't delve too deep into it, and I could have mentioned another counter argument. For instance, the I don't know. Let's think about it. What else could you know? What else could be a reason why chocolate producers may not suffer much from the minimum price? Let's see. Yeah, it could be that the minimum price they may not just chocolate producers may not suffer. I'm talking about a long run and short run argument now. This is profound. Okay, long run, short run arguments are always valued highly. You gotta you gotta mention at least one long run and short run distinction here. So I can mention in the long run, so in the short run, the cocoa producers may not have to pay higher prices for their cocoa because they may have some contracts fixed in place with the cocoa producers of Ivory Coast that that allows them to purchase cocoa at a fixed price at the in the original fixed price, and not pay the new higher minimum price thingy. So the cocoa producers may not face all these consequences such as falling profits, rising unemployment every time, and may not even switch until in the long run when those contracts are over and their terms run out. That could have earned me 2 or 3 more evaluation marks, but I ended my answer there because I was running out of time and everything. So 2 evaluation marks here, and 3 evaluation marks here. That gets me 5 total evaluation marks. Now this and a mini essay, 5 evaluation marks are obviously too low. So you need to mention another evaluation point like the one I just told you, and that would earn you 8 evaluation marks, and that will secure your answer pretty easily. It can also earn you 7 evaluation marks, but either way, the evaluation marks would be 6 or 7. If you are doing an 18 marker, it could be 8 evaluation marks. Not really, actually. If you are doing an 18 marker, yeah, there could be 8 evaluation marks, but I doubt it. There are most likely going to be 6 or 7. If there are 8, then well, mention it on the point. Talk about the magnitude, how much. Yeah, you can easily talk about the magnitude. It depends on the magnitude of the minimum price. Well, for instance, how close is it to the equilibrium price, or is it like rather excessive? You can talk about that too. And at the end of the day, if you are doing a 40 marker, then this may prove to be just enough. Since there are 6 evaluation marks and I earned 2, sorry, 2 here, 3 here, 5. So I'll be able to get 13 total marks. But my KAA, this is excessively profuse on KA marks. These are 3K marks, these are 2K marks, 3KA marks, 2KA marks, true evaluation here. All in all, this is 3, 3, 6, and 4. So 10 marks. And the first page, 4 for diagram, 1K here, 3K here. That's 8 more marks, so 10 plus 8, that is 18 marks. And that is how you do a mini essay.